Okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about typography and how we can use tracking, leading, justification to make our text even better than it is. So if we just type it out just straight like this, we're going to get something that looks like that. Tracking is to increase the space between each letter. So for instance, here's our word typography. Put in a brighter color. That's if I just typed it out, I didn't do anything to it. If I want to increase the tracking, I'm going to go up here to stroke. Oops, sorry. I'm going to go up here to character. And I'm going to increase the tracking here. It's the space between the characters. And you can hold your mouse over it and it will say that, set the tracking. So I'm going to increase it. You can see the more I increase it, the more space appears between the letters. If I were to decrease it and go into the negatives, it would get closer and more jumbled together. Depending on the look you're going for, you might be doing a book title or a quote or something about maybe claustrophobia. And I'm going to attempt to spell that, which is probably not right at all. But you could see how if the word kind of has a feeling of that, then it might fit. So I'm going to make the tracking even less. On our scale here, it only goes to -100, but you could always put in whatever you want, -300. Obviously, then it becomes illegible. We can't read it. So let's go back up. -200, maybe something like that. Or you would have the opposite effect if you have a word like maybe freedom and you want to put this space in, character, tracking, and let's do like plus 500. And so really spread it out to give you that feeling of freedom. So use the tracking tool to really create, to add white space, to create a feeling about your text. If you need to jumble it, I would be careful that you're not getting to the point where it's illegible, because first and foremost, your text needs to be able to be read. The next thing we're going to talk about is sometimes when you're doing like an artist statement, or whenever you're writing like a lot of text, you might want it to be what we call justified, meaning you want it to be the same on both sides. You want it to line up with the title, and you want everything to kind of look as if it's fitting in this square pattern. So to do that in Illustrator, there is a tab for justification, but it's not really accurate. So what you're going to do is you're going to type, and then when you get to the point where the word is about to end, you're going to hit return and keep going. And you'll be bound to find that the words don't always end there. So some words might go longer and some words might go shorter, and maybe we can't put the next word up here because it's a really long word. So what you're going to do then is you're going to use individualized tracking. So you're going to select the entire line here that needs to spread out more, and we're going to track that out maybe 50, and here we go into like the really small numbers, tweaking it, 56, let's try that. So that 56 brings us right to the edge. This one is coming out too far, so we need to push that one back in. So we go to character, let's add 20, let's bring it down to 10, we're almost there, let's go to 5, and we're good. So you want to do this for each line to make sure they fit inside those guidelines. For this one, I got to go back, so I'm going to go less, 10, let's try 5, still need more, let's try -5, and then we went too far, so let's try just -1. And we could probably even go up a little bit. Let's go +1, better. So now we're getting this effect of this block text. When we take off our ruler guides, it looks really nice when the text lines up with the title. This is a design standard. So you may want to do this on your artist statement. You may want to have your picture here of your project and your title and have everything justified. So justification is an example of typography, and it looks really nice. It's just a pain to actually sit there and do it, but if you're meticulous about it, it will come out looking great. Right now we have active type, meaning there's an underline under it, meaning we could still go in with our type tool and we could edit it, we could remove letters, we could add letters. Once we have it how we want it, we're going to change the type to outlines. And the reason we do this is it makes the type become a design element and not so much a piece of text. And how we do that is we select it and we go up to type and then create outlines. When I do this, you're going to see the line underneath disappear and there'll be like the blue outline around every single letter. So let's do that. And now what we've done is we've taken away that underline, meaning we can no longer go in with the type tool and actually type in here. These things have each become their own object. They're still together. In a sense, they're still grouped, so they would travel together. But we want to break them up, and I call this chunking your type. So I'm going to select around just the first word. I'm going to cut, Control X, Control Paste, Control V, and then Control G, group. So what I've done is I've taken it out of that group. So here's the group it was in, and now it is its own group by itself. And I'm going to do that to the is. So I need to use the white plus arrow to grab just this piece. If I tried to do that with the black arrow, I'd be grabbing the whole thing. So it's just the white plus arrow, Control X, Control Paste, Control Group. So it's Control X, V, G. And then I have this one is already its own group because it never moved. So now that I have these in three separate things, I can start to play around with how I want to position them, how I want to align them. I don't want them to look like they just came out of the, just typing right out of the keyboard. I want to create some sort of design with this. So maybe I want to connect these two. Maybe I want the S to be, really small or different or on its side. And you can do this by really using just the white plus arrow. It's going to be able to move these things around and also kind of change direction. If you want maybe the O a little bit closer, I'm going to select just the O and I'm going to use my keyboard and just kind of push a little bit closer. And same with this one. So it's no longer a text. It's no longer an editable text. It's now a design element. It's now like playing with objects that you traced with the pen tool. Like maybe you want to rotate that one. However you want to do it. Another thing you could do with the regular white arrow, so if we hold down here, we've been working with the plus arrow. If we use just the white arrow, what this does is this will alter just specific points of an object. So if you see, I move my mouse over it, it lights up. I can select just one point to edit, or I can select 2 points or a range of points. And this is how I can get alternating effects. So this might be something you need to do. So you can really alter the text dramatically. If I wanted to make this E a little wider here, I could alter each of these points independently. And now I'm really altering the typeface altogether. It's no longer that font, the font that I was using. It's now something completely different because I've kind of customized it and made it different. If you're going to play around with the font like this, you want to make it look better than it is. You don't want to make it look worse. So really be careful with what you're doing. It's fun to kind of play around with, but then don't get carried away and make something look like it doesn't belong. So here, if I can put that there. So here I've taken the word type, which started out as this. This is just right out of the keyboard, and I've totally changed it into something different. So here's my just by using the white plus, by grouping and chunking my text, by pulling on the certain points with my white plus arrow, I've created this totally alternate version. Again, you'll never be able to type this from the keyboard. It will never come like that. It will always come like this. So you're truly customizing your type into something completely different. Another thing we could do, especially for the type poster, is we can bring in textures. So for instance, this is a texture of like a notebook paper. You can go on Google Images. You could type in Google search for high resolution textures or free textures. There's hundreds of free websites where you could download these things. These are high resolution, meaning even if I zoom in, they look pretty decent. And I can use them as part of design elements as the backgrounds and things like that. So we're going to look at another feature called Stylize. So we're going to use our text tool. We're going to type the word. And what we want to do is we want to change it to outlines. So once we have it how we like it, we're going to go to Object, Create Outlines, Type, Create Outlines, have them become objects. Then we're going to go up to Effect and then Stylize. From here we have a couple options. We have Drop Shadow, so we'll try that. We can change the color. What kind of drop shadow do you want? You can click Preview so you can see what it would look like. You can increase the blur. You see where it's less, more or less. You can increase the opacity of it. Or do you want it really bold, or do you want it just like a very light, subtle? And we can kind of play around with this. Multiply, overlay. It doesn't seem to be doing much. Hard light. Saturation. Let's keep it at normal for now. And then click OK when you like it. So what I've added is a drop shadow. I could also go back to Effect, Stylize. I can try Inner Glow, try Outer Glow, kind of play around with all these. See what they do, see what you like. Let's see, so this is the glow coming from the inside. I clicked on Center, so it's kind of coming out from the center. Effect, Stylize, Feather. This will give you kind of a blurry edge. Again, you can adjust how blurry you want that to get. Effect, Stylize, rounded corners. It's always an option. Again, you can adjust how rounded you want them. Just slightly rounded or very rounded. Scribble. Always check the preview button here because that will give you an idea of what it is you're doing. Again, you can play around with all these different things. It's going to take a while to load the pattern while you're playing around with it. Stroke width. Oh, that's too thick. Too thin. Curviness. Spacing. Remember, you want to keep it legible, so don't go too crazy with it. So that's another option that you can play with. Childlike, dense, loose. I'm just kind of cycling through these options. Oh, that's kind of cool. Sharp, sketch. So there's some presets in here that you can play with. That's a nice one. Or you can kind of fudge around and see what you get. Click OK when you're done, and that would be another option for you to kind of customize your type. So remember, you're not limited to just what comes out of the keyboard. There really are no limits when it comes to typography. You're going to change them into outlines, and then you're going to, literally, you can change your placement individually. So that's it.